All right, guys, it's wet, it's cold. We're working on the Baja. Gotta move her out of the garage, turn her around, and get to work. We'll be working on that. That's good to go. This is what we're doing. Baja Turbo, 5-speed. We got the Baja turned around. We're gonna go ahead and take off part of the inlet to the turbo and go ahead and make sure we have it with us, so when we make our boost leak checker, everything fits right. So first we're gonna go ahead and always take off the positive battery terminal, or the negative, whatever, I don't know, everyone tells you something different. Make sure that we don't get any shorts while we're messing around in the engine. Then we're gonna go ahead and take off this intake. It's got 2 screws, one here and oh, one broke off in there. That's okay. We're gonna go ahead and take that off, and then we're gonna take this piece off so that when we make our insert, it fits over this correctly. And so this is where our boost leak checker is gonna go ahead and get inserted to and pressurize the system. But this is what we're working with. Definitely some tight spaces. Pretty sure I've got a boost leak somewhere. This is a 2005 with 115,000 miles on it. It's seen some better days. It's been up north, it's been down south, it's been all over the place. So I'm boosting about 8 PSI. I also have a stutter in my idle, so I think we might have an issue. When I originally got it, it had a misfire, and I went ahead and diagnosed that, swapping coils around, inserting new spark plugs, yada yada. Then I went ahead and swapped the injectors, and on cylinder 4 back here on Subarus, this is cylinder number 2, this is cylinder 4. I swapped them, the code followed, sent the injectors out to be cleaned and refurbished by Witch Hunter. Came back, number 4 was a little low, put it in, misfire is gone. So we're working on it, we're getting her done. Alright, let's go ahead and remove some stuff so that we can make our boost leak tester. Millimeter bolt to go ahead and remove the negative terminal. Alright, that's off. We're moving in the right direction. Millimeter bolt to go ahead and remove the intake. I'm working on cars. I like to go ahead and every time I take a bolt off, I put it back to where it should be if I can. This makes it really easy for knowing where things go ahead and go. Now we're gonna go ahead and try to take this guy off. It's 2 8mm hose clamp bolts. We're gonna take that guy out, and then we're gonna make some parts. All right, to make life a little easier, because I don't wanna rip anything to get this guy out, I'm gonna take the top of my air box off. It's just 2 clips here. Disconnect your MAF sensor, get these hoses out of the way, and then you can kinda pry it out. There's little tabs here, just lift it up and pull out. All right, we got that out of the way. And if you're wondering where your MAF sensor is, it's right there. It's also the intake air temperature sensor. So what happens is a lot of people go ahead and try cleaning these things, but they don't actually clean the correct sensor. So that's the intake air temperature sensor. The MAF sensor is at the bottom of that well. It's a open hole inside of there. And so when you clean it with MAF cleaner, you want to make sure you get deep in there. All right, we're making progress here. So we got that off. We're going to take that with us to make sure. We're going to go ahead and check what that diameter is in there just real quick. Looks like it's 2.5, and then OD is 2 3/4 about. Good to know. Let's go make some parts. It's wet, it's cold, but I'm out here working. You should be too. All right, guys. We got some part here to go ahead and make a boost leak detector. You need to make an insert into this guy and then hook up all this stuff together. So we're gonna use this thing to make it fit. right at about 3 inches. And we need to be 2.9. A little more. Now we'll drill a hole for our NPT that we're gonna hook our line to. See if that works. We're only going to about 15 to 20 psi. These are rated to thousands of psi, so really not worried about it. Let's see. Oh yeah, perfect. All right, now we have all of our stuff. We're gonna go ahead and add Teflon tape onto all of the male NPT threads. This will guarantee a seal, making sure that we don't have any leaks in the system that we're building now. This will also take into account any variations in the threads and the pieces that are going together. And we're only going 15-20 psi, so this should do. All right, now that we got everything Teflon taped together, let's go ahead and put it together and see what kind of monster thing we got. And then we'll go ahead and pressure test it here in the shop, and it's time to roll. All right, guys, we have a sealed system here. So I've got my air inlet going to my pressure regulator, going to my shutoff valve, going to my pressure gauge, going to my insert. So right now the shutoff valve is closed. We have no leaks. We're at about 20 psi. If I go ahead and crack this open, so we got air coming out of there. And let's see if I can plug this. And if I plug it, you can see my pressure gauge goes up. So that's reading about 20 psi, or about 20 psi there. So everything's looking good here, boys. We're good to go. Oh yeah. Let's see if we got any leaks. Well, first, let's see what happens if we do this. Turn that pressure up. Can we make it lift? About 35 psi. Shut our valve off. Boom. Good to go. Holding pressure. Let's do it. So this is the little write-up I did on how I plan to make my boost leak checker. So I have a compressor at home I'm going to use, the airline to the regulator, to the shutoff valve, to the pressure gauge, and then the seal. I was going to tap the pressure gauge right to here, but then I found a 3-way inline tee, so this will work. What will happen is I'll pressurize the system, I'll shut off the valve, and then I'll take a look at the gauge and see if it's dropping. Then we go ahead and we know we have a leak somewhere. Plus, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to hear it. So this is pretty much it. This is stuff I had laying around the shop. This is the general way to go ahead and make a boost leak detector. Honestly, any way you can do it. Just put some fittings together and make this. Alright guys, we're back in the garage. We got our tools, we got our boost leak checker. So now it's to hook it up and do some stuff. We also have to go ahead and disconnect the PCV line. So this is the boost solenoid line There's I believe this is PCV or EGR or something like that, and another one back there, but you want to go ahead and disconnect all the lines on the turbo inlet. Apparently, if you go ahead and pressurize the system with those connected, it'll pressurize the crankcase, which will push out the cam seals potentially, which is another issue you don't want to happen when you're trying to fix something. People also suggest going ahead and removing the oil cap to make sure that any gas that does get into the crankcase is vented out through there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Right now we're rough fitting the boost leak checker. So I went ahead and got at the auto parts store this 3-inch diameter coupler. So it fits onto my piece that we made earlier, and it's going to fit onto here. Oh yeah. Tighten that bad boy down, and that should seal, and then we'll be checking for leaks. All right, guys, we got all of our lines disconnected. We got this guy is out. There's this top one, which was whatever this thing is. I forgot. I'll put a link in the description and information in there. I'm not sure if I have to plug this one or not. We'll see once we start pressurizing everything. So those two are off, and then I believe this is the intercooler piping, whatever this thing is that runs to here and does something. There's this connector right here that came out, which was this one, and then in the back there is this other PCV connector, which a lot of people have said online does nothing. There's this connector over here that's part of this guy. It's a sensor that basically just doesn't exist, so that's all disconnected now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw caps on everything, zip tie it on there, and then we'll go ahead and be able to pressurize the system safely. Alright guys, we've made one trip so far to the AutoZone. Had to get an extra nipple, 3/4 nipple for those two back lines. We're good to go. Alright guys, we got everything capped off now. You got caps, 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 and caps. These two back ones were 3/4 caps. Went to the hardware store, got those. That's all taken off now. We're gonna open up the engine oil cap, make sure anything bypassed to the crankcase doesn't affect the cam seals, and we'll go ahead and hook this up. Alright, we've got our coupler connected on here, we've got our pressure gauge, we've got our shutoff valve, we've got our regulator, we've got our compressor. Let's see if there's any leaks. As we're pressure testing, you definitely have to go ahead and cap this guy off. Alright, so we ran pressure through the system, shut the valve off, then watched the pressure drop. We found a couple little air coming out of this line here, coming out of this connector line pipe here, and then a little here as well as coming out of the oil cap. Other than that, the system seems to be sealed. I did tighten the turbo inlet, and we cannot find a leak anywhere else. No hissing, no nothing. So we're going to put the car back together and see if it works. So we've gotten all of the lines put back on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around to all of these vacuum line connections. Basically everything that's teed up to either vacuum or putting pressure on the system, I'm going to throw some zip ties on there. It's really no issue with these cars that for whatever reason the vacuum lines come loose, they wiggle their way out, whatever it is. So just as a double check precautionary, I'm going to throw zip ties on pretty much every vacuum or pressure connection I can. Alright, everything's zip tied up. Engine looks good. I think it's ready to start. Where is the 8mm? Gotta finish tightening the bolts. Where is it? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody know where it is? Much better. Let's see if she starts.